Hi, and welcome to Juice Pouch Players. Today we'll be explaining the rules of the game Mushroom Cat. You'll have to bear with me a bit today on my setting because I'm in the process of moving and completely unpacking. As you can see, I have my board games over here. I have my books, part of them, over here. And so behind me everything's a bit of a mess, but it's okay. I can still explain the rules just fine. We'll get through it. It'll be great. Mushroom Cat is a game that works in 3 rounds, and your goal is to gain as many cats and maximize the amount of points you can get per round in order to win. Now, how does each round work? Each round starts with everybody looking at the cards in their hand. They pick a card from their hand and they put it out and start a deck on the table in front of them. Once they've picked out which card they're going to play, they put that face down in front of them and they pass, in the first round, their hand to their left. In the second round, they'll pass to their right, and the third round, they'll pass to the left again. Plays continue until everybody has dealt out every single card in their hand. This means that at the end of each round, you will just receive one card that you have to play, regardless of what it is. This could be really negative. For example, if you end up accidentally being handed a death cap, which is just -1 to your score. So there's lots of ways you can try to strategize to make sure that you don't end up with a bad card, or that you make sure someone who's winning does end up with a card that might be a detriment to them. And then after that, tally up your totals, write those down, cards are collected, reshuffled, and redistributed for round 2. Now, the amount of cards dealt depends on how many people are playing. If there are 2 people playing, each player gets 10 cards per round. If there are 3 people playing, 9 cards per round, 4 gets 8, and 5 gets 7, so on and so forth. This game is great for 2 to 5 players. Now, the most important thing is explaining the different types of cards. Each card is scored in a different way. All of the cards have the scoring mechanism written on the card, so even after I've explained it, if you need a little reminder, it is on the card, don't worry. We'll start off simple with the mischievous cat. This cat is worth 1 point, just plain, 1 point. But every time you play the mischievous cat, you get to trade that mischievous cat with somebody else's card on their table. So, for example, if somebody else has a cat that you want and it wasn't available in the hand to play it, but you had a mischievous cat, you can play the mischievous cat, and the mischievous cat goes onto their table, and you get the card that you wanted. All right, up next, we have the enchanting cat. The enchanting cat actually allows you to draw 3 cards from the deck, play one of them, and discard the other 2. If you end up with the enchanting cat as the last card dealt to you, and you have to play it, the enchanting cat in your little pile is worth -1 point. So you want to kind of avoid these guys. The mischievous cats and the enchanting cats allow you to do things with the other players at the table. But if more than one mischievous cat is played, those cancel out. Same with enchanting cats. More than one enchanting cat is played, those cancel out. But this does not count if it's a mischievous cat and an enchanting cat are played. If only one of both of those cards are played, they resolve separately. Don't worry about it. If 2 mischievous cats are played, then that means that those actually stay in the deck of those players. Instead of looking at 3 new cards, they have to just take the 1 point that the mischievous cat provides. Same with the enchanting cat. If more than one person plays an enchanting cat, then those cards stay in their hand, and that's a -1 to their total at the end of the game. Up next, we have the blue oyster card. The blue oyster card is not worth anything until you have 3 of them. If you have 3 blue oyster cards, then it's worth 7 points. So, if you're playing in a game with 2 players, you put down a blue oyster card on your turn and you pass the deck over to the next person, you pick up their hand, and they have another blue oyster card, you can play that, but if you never get a 3rd card, those 2 blue oyster cards mean nothing on the table. Up next, this one is a really, really fun one, the Veiled Lady. Now, 1 Veiled Lady is worth 3 points. 2 Veiled Ladies are worth 1 point collectively. But if you have 3 Veiled Ladies, they're worth 8 points. So this one's also a little bit of a gamble. Similar to Blue Oyster, there still is a payoff. If you only end up with 2, you still get a point, but getting 3 has a much bigger reward. Now, there's a set of 3 cards that all kind of work together in tandem. First is yellow, which is Chicken of the Woods. Next is orange, which is Apricot Jelly. And last is red, which is Lobster. If you get, for example, 1 lobster card is worth 1 point. Easy peasy, very similar to the mischievous cat, just 1 card is worth 1 point. But if you have 1 lobster, 1 apricot jelly, and 1 chicken of the woods, those 3 cards together are worth 6 points. So however many sets of 3 you have, each are worth 6 points. Let's get into my favorite part of this game and my favorite cats to attempt to collect. So, these aren't actually cats, these are more mushrooms than they are cats. In the deck, there are a few antidote cards. Antidotes counteract death caps. Death caps are worth -1 point. Each death cap in your hand is worth -1 point. But if you have an antidote on your table, then each death cap is worth 3 points. So there's a little bit of a give and take here. If you only have death caps and you go and start collecting them hoping that you'll find an antidote, there's a chance that you just rack up a lot of negative points. But if you start strong with an antidote, you might be able to get as many death caps as possible in order to kind of maximize towards the end. The only thing that could possibly get in your way, as a reminder, is the mischievous cat, which allows a player to take a card from your table and move it into theirs. That card is, of course, replaced with the mischievous cat. And with that, let's go to a practice round. All right, so at the beginning of the practice round, both Moon Punch and Summer Blast would look at their cards. Moon Punch, for example, is going to look at this and is going to attempt to get the set of 3 cards from the Lobster, Chicken of the Sea, and Apricot Cat set. So they'll play the Lobster Cat and pass that over to Summer Blast. Summer Blast will look at the cards and will decide to go for the Blue Oyster set. There's a lot of blue oysters in this hand. There's a good chance they'll get them. Put down a blue oyster and pass it over to Moon Punch. Since there's only 2 players, there's not really a left and right in this scenario, but we work with what we have. Okay, so they reveal what they have. A lobster and a blue oyster. Moon Punch will then play again. Okay, apricot jelly, perfect. Another one in the set, and that's the card. Then we go over to Summer Blast, who will play another blue oyster. There's a lot of them in this set. So put that down, pass it over, and then both cards are flipped. Well on your way to that 7 points. Moon Punch will then look back through. And there's no Chicken of the Sea. All right, well, there's an antidote and a death cap, so that's maybe a good start. So play the antidote. Over here, we see lobster, another blue oyster. Perfect. That's what we needed. Blue oyster, and then pass it over. So we have an antidote and a blue oyster, building out our 2 little decks. Next, Moon Punch will take a look at the hand again. Mischievous Cat, Enchanting Cats, Apricot Jelly, we already have that. A Death Cap, and a Chicken of the Woods. Well, we almost have that set, so we'll take that, and we'll pass it over. Summer Blast will take, already has the Blue Oyster set complete, so let's work on the Veiled Ladies. And pass it over. All right, now it's Moon Punch's turn, or now we flip them over. So we have a complete Lobster, Apricot Jelly, and Chicken of the Woods set. We have a complete Blue Oyster set here. And then we're starting our Veiled Lady set, and we have our antidote here. All right, now it's time to lock in and find a death cap. Perfect. That goes down. Now it's Summer Blast's turn. Summer Blast needs another Veiled Lady, but there isn't one. Well then, I guess we go for more blue oysters. We can go for another set. Okay, so we reveal those, another blue oyster set, and a death cap. All right. So now we see over here, another death cap. Perfect, we'll take that. And pass that over to Summer Blast. Summer Blast looks at this deck and sees, perfect, 2 more blue oysters. As long as Moon Punch doesn't take any, we'll get that full set. All right, so we have 2 death caps here, a second set of blue oysters going. Okay, so now we're reaching an interesting point. I think the best move is to take the Enchanting Cat and hope that we get a death cap. So we'll play the Enchanting Cat. All right. Now, there's nothing here. Okay, so I guess we'll also play an Enchanting Cat. And that gets passed over to Moon Punch. Well, both the Enchanting Cats get flipped over, and they balance each other out. So each player gets -1 point to their score. Shoot. Well, that's not ideal. All right, Moon Punch goes next. Moon Punch is gonna try again. Try another Enchanting Cat. Summer Blast is going to try a Mischievous Cat. Get rid of the antidote. All right. Now they flip over. So they played 2 different cards. So the Enchanting Cat gets to draw. Moon punches first. So Enchanting Cat gets to draw 3 from the deck. 1, 2, 3. That's 3 new cards. Nothing that we want though. So we'll play the Enchanting Cat and discard the other 2. And look at the next 3 cards. 1, 2, 3. A Veiled Lady, a Blue Oyster, and a Chicken of the Woods. Well, of these 3, a Veiled Lady is worth the most because just one of them is worth 3 points. So we'll keep that. And that Enchanting Cat, original one, goes into the discard. Now for Mischievous Cat, this, we know that they're going to try to take the antidote. So the Mischievous Cat goes here, and the antidote goes here. We move into the final round. We have a Blue Oyster or a Mischievous Cat. Now, Moon Punch is going to try to play the Mischievous Cat to steal the antidote back. And the All right, and then the last card is going to go to Summer Blast to play. All right, there's 2 more cards over here. They're gonna play. Oh, I mean, with these 2 cards, you'd also play a Mischievous Cat. So that gets played over here, and this goes here. So this resolves by turning over first the Mischievous Cats, which cancel each other out. So these 2 stay where they are. Then there's only 1 card left, and that's what gets played. There's 1 more Blue Oyster, which actually finishes this second set. And there's 1 more Apricot Jelly, which is just an additional point. So let's tally up. Moon Punch has 6 points from the Apricot Jelly, Lobster, and Chicken of the Woods set, and then an additional point for the extra Apricot Jelly. So that's 7 points, plus 2 more points, 1 for each Mischievous Cat. So that's 8, plus, 7, 8, 9, plus and another 3 for the Veiled Lady, 10, 11, 12, but minus 1 point for each Death Cap and the Enchanting Cat. So it's minus 3 points. So 12 goes back down to 9 for a final total of 9 from Moon Punch. Let's go over to Summer Blast. Summer Blast gets 7 points from this set of Blue Oysters, 7 points for this set of Blue Oysters, up to 14. Then 15 for the Mischievous Cat, 16 for the Antidote, 17, 18, 19 for the Veiled Lady, minus 1 for the Enchanting Cat, so 18. So Summer Blast wins this round, and then we'd continue on. And those are the rules of Mushroom Cat. Thanks for watching, and we will sip you later.